Hey, this is Zeklog the Great. The Turn of the Tide by C.S. Lewis. Breathless was the air over Bethlehem, black and bare the fields, hard as granite were the clods, hedges stiff with ice, the sedge in the vice of the ponds like little iron rods. The deathly stillness spread from Bethlehem. It was shed wider each moment on the land. Through rampart and wall, into camp and into hall stole the hush. All tongues were at a stand. Travellers at their beer in taverns turned to hear the landlord. That oracle was dumb. At the procurator's feast, a jocular freedman ceased his story and gaped. All were glum. Then the silence flowed forth to the islands and the north, and it smoothed the unquiet river bars, and levelled out the waves from their revelling, and paved the sea with the cold reflected stars. Where the Caesar sat and signed at ease on Palatine, without anger, the signatures of death, and there stole into his room and on his soul a gloom, till he paused in his work and held his breath. Then to Carthage and to Gauls, to Parthia and the falls of Nile, to Mount Amra it crept. The romp and rage of beasts in swamp and forest ceased. The jungle grew still, as if it slept. So it ran around the girth of the planet. From the earth the signal, the warning went out. Away beyond the air her neighbors were aware of change. They were troubled with doubt. Salamanders in the sun, who brandish as they run tails like the Americas in size, were stunned by it and dazed. Wondering they gazed up at earth, misgiving in their eyes. In houses and signs the Usiarchs divine grew pale and questioned what it meant. Great galactic lords stood back to back with swords half drawn, awaiting the event. And a whisper among them passed, "Is this perhaps the last of our story, and the glories of our crown?" The entropy worked out, the central redoubt abandoned, the world spring running down. Then they could speak no more, weakness overbore even them. They were as flies in a web. In lethargy, stone dumb, the death had almost come. The tide stood motionless at ebb. Like a stab at that moment over crab and bowman, over maiden and lion came the shock of returning life, the start and burning pang at heart, setting galaxies to tingle and rock. The lords dared to breathe, swords went into sheaths, a rustling, a relaxing began, with rumor and noise of the returning of joys, along the nerves of the universe it ran. Then, pulsing into space with delicate, dulcet pace, came a music infinitely small, but clear, and it swelled and drew nearer till it held all worlds with the sharpness of its call. And now, divinely deep, ever louder with a leap and quiver of inebriating sound, the vibrant dithyramb shook Libra, and the ram, the brains of Aquarius, spun round. Such a note as neither throne nor potentate had known since the word created the abyss. But this time it was changed in a mystery estranged, a paradox, an ambiguous bliss. Heaven danced to it and burned, such answer was returned to the hush, the favete, the fear that earth had sent out. Revel, mirth, and shout descended to her sphere below sphere, till Saturn laughed and lost his latter age's frost, and his beard, Niagara-like, unfroze. The monsters in the sun rejoiced. The inconstant one, the unwedded moon, forgot her woes. A shiver of rebirth and deliverance round the earth, when gliding, her bonds were released. Into broken light the breeze once more awoke the seas. In the jungle it wakened every beast. Capropods fell to dance from Taprobon to France, leprechauns from down to Labrador. In his green Asian dell, the phoenix from his shell burst forth, and was the phoenix once more. So death lay in a rest, but at Bethlehem the blessed nothing greater could be heard than sighing wind in the thorn, the cry of one newborn, and cattle in stable as they stirred.